Well, good day, everyone. We're back here at Rose Hills Memorial Park in Whittier, California. I am going to visit the grave of Demas Shakarian and his family. They're buried here in the Whispering Pines lawn section of Rose Hills. Demas was born July 21st, 1913. His grandfather, Tatos Shakarian, migrated here about 1905. If you know anything about the history of Armenia, there was a genocide that happened in 1915 to 1917. The Ottoman Empire tried to wipe out the Armenians. Armenia is a Christian country that's tucked in the middle of neighboring Muslim countries. Now, persecution was very fierce in the 19th century. The Shakarians heard a warning by a boy prophet. The Shakarians were old Pentecostals. And they heard a warning, supposedly by the Spirit of God, from a young boy that a great tragedy was about to fall Armenia, and they were to get out right away, which they did. In 1905, they escaped Armenia. In 1915 to 1917, the extermination happened, which wiped out 1.5 million Armenians. It was a very sad time. Those who were able to escape did escape. The Shakarians escaped several years before. So they came over to Canada, eventually to Los Angeles, and they settled. Demas's grandfather settled in downtown Los Angeles, about a mile from the Azusa Street Church in 1906, if you remember the Azusa Street revival. They got in on that. They found instant rapport with those people because they were of similar faith. The Lord greatly blessed the Shakarian family. Demas's son Isaac started a prosperous dairy farm in Downey, California. Now, the Shakarians intermarried with the descendants of Kardashian. Tatos Kardashian married Hannah Shakarian. The Kardashians changed their name to the Kardashians. Yes, this is the famous Kardashian family. Back 100 plus years ago, they were fundamentalist Christians. They were Pentecostals. The modern day Kardashians, they're basically famous for being famous. They're businessmen. They're into entertainment. You probably all recognize the name of Kim Kardashian, who has had some scandalous behavior in the past. But that's not their background. Their background is religion. It's seeking God. And I mean, that's what the family traditionally stood for. Now, Demas Shakarian founded the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International. It prospered, it grew. It had some periods of struggling, but basically there's thousands of members today in some 150 countries. I remember listening to some of their broadcasts over the old Christian Broadcasting Network radio station in upstate New York. That was interesting to listen to. One problem, though, is think back to the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 13, verse 30, where he said, "Let the wheat and the tares grow together until harvest, and then gather the tares to be burned, and then gather the wheat into my barn." Jesus was speaking prophetically of what would happen in the church age, the way unbelievers and opportunists and predators would infiltrate with true believers. This did happen, though, in the lives of the Shakarians. Many people don't know this, but I've been reading a book by John Andrew Collins called Preacher Behind the White Hoods. It's a critical examination of William Branham and his message. I won't go into detail because Mr. Collins goes into a lot of rich detail, but pretty much I'm not saying anything against Demas Shakarian's character. I believe that he was a good man. I believe he was a man of God. But he did mix with some very bad people. William Branham had strong ties to the Ku Klux Klan, and his spiritual father was Roy Davis. Roy Davis was the imperial wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and Roy Davis was also a Pentecostal preacher. These people walked in the same circles as Demas Shakarian did, along with Oral Roberts and along with the infamous Jim Jones, if you remember him. He's the one that caused that awful mass suicide in Jonestown, Guyana, America. These people all ran in the same circles. This was the wheat and the tares together. And there's a lot. I'm not going to go into details, but there's a lot that happened in early Pentecostal history that a lot of people don't like to talk about. It doesn't mean that the gospel is false or the Pentecostal message of the gifts of the Spirit is false. It doesn't mean that at all. Even though William Branham and Roy Davis and others were into a lot of chicanery, they did a lot of bogus and false miracles. They were pretenders, just like Jim Jones was. Doesn't mean that the gospel was false, though. It simply means that the wheat and the tares were together. This is an unfortunate thing that happened. However, there was a lot of good that Demas Shakarian did. He got men to come out to his meetings because pretty much women outnumbered men in the churches and in the evangelistic meetings. He got men to come out and express their faith. And you can read about the full history of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship. The fact that they were mixing with bad guys and with flim-flam artists, that's sad and unfortunate, but they did. Let's go visit Demas's grave. He's right over here. Again, I believe that Demas was a man of God who had some unfortunate associations. His grave was a little hard to find because he's under a pine tree and it's covered up with pines, so I eventually did find it. This is Mr. Demas right here. He died in 1993 at 80 years of age. Rose was his wife. She helped him enormously in his dairy business because God greatly prospered Demas and Rose in their dairy business. They're the ones that came out with the idea of the drive-through dairy, which became popular, at least in California. That was their doing, and later on, of course, they got the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship going. Isaac Shakarian was Demas's father, and he was a believer. So Ruhi Shakarian, I don't know who that was. And Lucille Shakarian, I don't know who she was. These are all relatives, but hey, rest in peace, Mr. Demas, and Rose and Isaac and everyone. They certainly did a lot of good. As I said, it's unfortunate that they mixed with flim-flam men and predators, and they did. Look at the whole history behind Jim Jones. Jim Jones ran in the same circle as Demas and Oral Roberts and the others. It's very sad. But the wheat and the tares will grow together until harvest. So, anyway, rest in peace. And thank you for your service to the kingdom of God, sir.